the third and last episode of the podcast Young Voices for Climate Action, part of the twinning project SDG Eco Voyage, Europe's Green Quest. We're highly honored to meet Dr. Gianandrea Mannarini, a physicist and senior scientist at the Euro-Mediterranean Center of Climate Change in Lecce, Italy. He is a climate expert specializing in numerical applications for operational oceanography, dedicated to advancing public outreach and ocean literacy.
Before starting our talk, it's our duty to say that we are so grateful for the opportunity we were given to have you as an interlocutor who effectively has contributed so far to our reflections upon new possible future paths. Science says it is advisable to walk on. Thus, thanks for your inspiring and striking contributions to the previous 2 episodes of this short podcast series, Young Voices for Climate Action.
Hello, everybody. Actually, I should be thanking you. It's inspiring to see young people caring about the planet's future. With the right tools and knowledge, your generation is going to slow down and possibly even stop global warming.
We hope to do our best, Dr. Mannarini, but now it's time to welcome the young voices of this episode, Lorenzo, Gabrielle, Simon, Diego, and 2 girls from France, Yasmin and Ocean.
Hello, everyone.
Thanks. The floor is yours, guys. Let's start and discover how to take responsible actions to face the climate emergency.
Thanks. My question is about taking action. First of all, to mitigate climate change. But how can we reach this goal? Which mitigation strategies can be of some help?
Climate change mitigation is about removing the causes of this process. They are the greenhouse gas emissions resulting from the combustion of fossil fuels and the reduced removal of carbon dioxide by natural sinks, such as the soil or the ocean. For the first item, fossil fuels should be quickly replaced by other energy sources whose life cycle emissions are zero or near zero. The renewables do have this nice property. The Mediterranean region could easily become a hub of renewable energy production, making use of offshore wind and photovoltaic farms on the roofs, for example, or in the Sahara Desert, or even floating photovoltaic farms. For the second item, to combat the causes of climate change, we should also stop cutting forests and covering the soil with concrete or tar, as it happens when new buildings or new roads are built. Clearly, both actions call for a radical change in mindset and business models, and presently face strong opposition from the involved sectors of the economy. On the other hand, awareness about the disproportionate impacts of climate change is growing, and it may facilitate this transition. The young and the poor suffer most of the impacts, and their voice can be clearly heard if it goes beyond slogans.
And according to you, Dr. Mannarini, when it comes to talking about adaptation strategies, which are the most urgent ones to implement in the Mediterranean region?
With climate adaptation, we mean that our attention and effort move from the causes to the consequences of climate change and how their impacts can be reduced. In the Mediterranean region, recalling that the sea is warming 3 times faster than the average of the global extrapolar ocean, we have an issue with fisheries and aquaculture, but also with extreme meteorological events. To address them, we need reliable early warning systems, informing us when we have to intervene to protect property or people. In part, these systems are already available. Think at the civil protection alerts, but there is room to make them more effective at issuing warnings at the local scale. We need to bridge the gap between a regional weather forecast and the specific street-level impact that a flood or a heat wave might have on a particular community. Finally, the Mediterranean is rich in coastal cities, infrastructure, and archaeological or cultural heritage sites which are threatened by sea level rise. Planning for the future requires a careful mix of interventions. This includes soft measures like restoring dunes, hard coastal defenses only where necessary, and even the difficult prospect of managed retreat. Choosing the right tool for the right location is the only way to ensure the future of our coastal regions.
Which aspects of the daily lives of students and families have the greatest impact on greenhouse gas emissions?
Actually, there's no one size fits all answer to this question. I think each of us might start by looking at our own carbon footprint. That is the amount of carbon dioxide directly or indirectly generated by our individual activities and way of life. There are several free calculators online which allow us to estimate this amount. For example, you can find out the role of heating or cooling your home, the transportation you use, the food you eat, your travels, and the technology you use every day. You can then compare your results to the average citizen in your country, in Europe, or in the world. Often, these tools also provide suggestions on how to reduce your footprint or how to offset it through activities that are beneficial for the planet. From time to time, I do this exercise myself. It serves as a reality check for me, helping me stay grounded in the actual impact of my daily choices.
Considering that planning our future, as you said, requires a mix of interventions, how do you rate the relationship between research centers like the one where you work and public administrations? What methods are used to raise political awareness about the effects of climate change on local territories?
CMCC, or Euro-Mediterranean Center on Climate Change, is the focal point for Italy for the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change. Over time, we have been collaborating with various institutions from the local to the national level. For instance, in 2023, we provided a consultancy to the municipality of Lecce regarding the risk of coastal flooding for the strip between Torre Rinalda and Frigole. This research outcome was supposed to support the long-term urban plan of Lecce, the one for the next 40 years or so. Another example is the work we have done to support the cleaner operation of ships. We developed an open source numerical model, VCR2, which suggests routes with reduced carbon dioxide emissions by leveraging meteomarine forecasts. This model was recently recognized by the European Union, which listed it among the first 11 innovative solutions to support the mission to restore our ocean and waters. However, the decision-making process is not up to research centers. In my first example, decisions are made by the City Hall, while in the latter, decision-making is up to the shipmaster. Both examples represent complex processes and involve many concurrent factors that go well beyond the perspective of researchers. However, political institutions are highly sensitive to public opinion and must care about the social acceptance of changes by local communities. Private companies are influenced by society at large, which is ultimately made up of their final customers. This is why I believe that a widespread awareness of scientific evidence among the general population is so important. When we speak about empowerment, a primary dimension of it is rooted in the power of knowledge.
Actually, I agree with you when you say that a widespread awareness of scientific evidence among the population is important because it can drive citizens' participation to long-term decisions. For this reason, what are, according to you, the absolute priorities and the best decisions to be made when redesigning our cities and critical infrastructure to protect populations from future extreme weather events?
I'm a researcher, not an architect. However, in my opinion, we should build up climate resilience by expanding the green and blue spaces in our cities. To tackle sea level rise and coastal flooding, I would prioritize nature-based solutions, such as restoring Posidonia meadows and coastal dunes. And in the long term, the managed retreat of infrastructure that is simply too close to the shoreline is an option which cannot be ruled out just for ideological reasons. Furthermore, it is vital to boost public transport at the urban scale and in the hinterland. This reduces ground level ozone and significantly improves air quality, helping us deal with higher temperatures, especially in summer. To cope with the extreme rainfall and floodings, we need a stronger sewerage system and permeable parking lots that allow water to drain naturally. Finally, and this is truly one of the most urgent actions, we must maintain climate refuges to protect people from heat waves. In coastal cities, ensuring equitable access to the beaches is one of the best ways to provide a natural refuge for people in summer.
And now we have come to the end of this episode. But before leaving you, I'd like to ask you about the role of younger generations. How can they collaborate with experts? How can they be involved and contribute in their daily lives? Sometimes I don't think collaboration is possible, or in most cases, it can't counteract the effects of climate change.
I think you are already championing this cause. Indeed, the first and most important move is being informed, as you are doing today and within the European project that promotes the production of this podcast. You should challenge us in the research community, but also your schools, families, and friends to familiarize with the topic of climate change and take its challenges seriously. Over the last few years, I've met with many young people and come to a realization. While I was busy providing information and insights, you were providing the motivational fuel. Historically, the youth have often been the engine of societal change. Today, your energy is exactly what we need to drive the global transition against climate change.
So much to do and fight for.
Let's say now that science asks and the students answer, okay? I would really love to know what this podcast experience left you. Was there anything in particular that sparked your interest in my answer? For instance, anything shocking or unexpected, or perhaps anything you strongly disagree with?
Thank you so much for turning the questions around on us. I really enjoyed the Science Ask Students Answer format. Honestly, what interested me the most throughout this podcast was the discussion about everyday habits and their impact on the climate. I think many of us know that big industries are responsible for a large part of emissions, but hearing it explained so clearly made me realize how much individual choices still matter too. As for something surprising or unexpected, I have to say I didn't expect the topic of habitats and climate to come up as such a major factor. I always associated climate change mostly with cars and factories, so learning about the environmental cost of what we eat, see, or feel was genuinely eye opening for me. Something I slightly disagree with is the idea that young people are already doing enough just by being aware of the issue. Awareness is important, of course, but I feel like awareness without action doesn't really move things forward. We need more courageous steps, not just conversations.
Listening to this podcast, I found particularly interesting how climate change is connected to our everyday choices. Actually, behavioral change is as important as future technological solutions that are often presented as the main and decisive way out to solve the problem. All the information given in this short podcast series has been extremely engaging and expressed with the precision of a clear language that made scientific content related topics easy to follow and understand.
For example, the section of the podcast where you talked about how sea levels will rise by 15 to 30 centimeters within 50 years was very unexpected and shocking at the same time. On the contrary, I slightly disagree with the idea that raising awareness is enough. Institutions need to make sustainable choices, the most convenient and affordable ones too. Otherwise, most people simply won't contribute to this change.
Let me add that without awareness, we cannot even identify effective solutions. Even worse, we might be cheated by false solution providers, and there are many indeed.
Thank you, Dr. Mannarini. Your answers are very interesting. We're shocked to learn that the Mediterranean Sea is warming 3 times faster than other oceans. I also found your ideas about renewable energy and nature based solutions very inspiring, especially with the oil prices rise due to the Iran Israel USA war since the end of February this year. By replacing fossil fuels so quickly is a very costful challenge. In France, we have a big debt crisis. Our government is struggling a lot to limit the rise of our debt. It's hard to imagine how we can afford to help poor people buy electric vehicles or install solar panels. Not everyone has the money for these changes, even if they are good for the planet. Maybe we can start with small steps, like better public transport or more bike lanes, which are cheaper but still help the environment.
This project was a great experience for us. We think our group worked very well together and we enjoyed writing our questions for the expert.
Most importantly, the whole class learned many new things about the environment, and we now feel that it's important to act responsibly for our future.
Finally, how do you rate the approach of my generation of adults regarding the climate crisis? In your opinion, what are we doing right? Where must we change? And how can we improve?
As for rating your generation's approach to the climate crisis, I would say it's mixed, but improving. What adults are doing right is that many governments and organizations are finally taking the issue seriously and investing in renewable energy. However, where change is still needed is in the speed of those decisions. Things are moving, but not fast enough. Too often, economic interests slow down. That should be urgent action. In my opinion, the most important improvement will be better education and more honest communication with younger generations. Not to scare us, but to involve us as real partners in finding solutions. We want to help, but we need to be taken seriously as well.
Your generation's approach is positive because you are laying the necessary foundations for changing strategies. And I really appreciate your generation's efforts to make some important steps forward, especially in terms of international agreements and growing public awareness. However, I feel that actions often don't match the urgency of the situation. Decisions get delayed and economic interests take priority over environmental ones. We must stop prioritizing short term economic growth over our planet's long term survival. What needs to be improved most is consistency. Saying one thing and doing another is no longer possible when we're talking about the future of our planet.
As young students, we were struck by the realization that climate change isn't a small thing or something far away from us, but something we can see in our daily lives. The recent floods in Emilia-Romagna are proof of this. They had consequences for people, communities, and our school was closed. It was surprising, but also a little scary.
Thanks to this project and the experts we interviewed, we learned much more about climate change and its effects.
Yes, as Francesca said, the recent floods in Emilia-Romagna showed us that climate change is a real problem. We believe adults are starting to listen and to talk to young people because they know that we are the future. They start being committed to trying to limit the damage. We believe it's important to act more quickly to protect our communities and to prevent these extreme weather events, starting with small local actions that can make a real difference.
Dr. Mannarini, we don't think anything is really changing, or at least not quickly enough. People talk a lot about climate change, but when it comes to taking action, they would rather continue consuming than saving energy. For example, France used less oil last month, but not because people cared about the planet, it's simply because oil prices increased because of the war in Iran and the blockade of the Strait of Hormuz. The economic crisis also makes it difficult for people and for us as well to accept green policies when we see our parents or relatives struggling to pay for shopping. So even if scientists and young people like us campaign for change, progress is slow. To be honest, we're not feeling very optimistic right now.
Dear students, these comments are really interesting. The different perspectives within your group testify to the complexity of the topic, also across various European countries, and how diverse perceptions of climate change and climate action can be. I think all your opinions are relevant, and they can help me personally and my generation of adults refocus our priorities around you.
We would like to express our gratitude to the expert Dr. Mannarini and to the teachers of the e-twinning project, SDG Eco Voyage, Europe's Green Quest, for giving us the important opportunity of informing ourselves on a relevant and urgent matter. Thanks for all the issues that have been raised so far and for the well-founded and inspiring questions provided by our special guest, Dr. Mannarini. We hope that this discussion has provided valuable insights into the challenges we have to take on for our future as younger generations.
Actually, I'm so grateful to all of you for this wonderful experience throughout the school year. I want to thank the e-twinning project and your teachers for giving us this opportunity to share and understand our different perspectives. All the best for your future endeavors and the upcoming holidays.
Thanks, Dr. Marie.
Bye everyone.
Bye.